oil and LNG, liquid natural gas, has been used as a cudgel and tool for political dominance.
Yes.
And that there is a real fear, particularly amongst powers in the West, to move towards a more sustainable model of living, because what incentive do Black and brown nations who have all of the natural resources that we need to do all the things we're doing right now, what incentive would they have to immigrate here? What incentive do they have to be a part of this global community? Like, I think the biggest fear of white supremacists is not retribution, it's radical indifference.
Yes.
Black and brown people don't give a fuck about white people outside of them having all the materials. And once we move towards a more sustainable model of living, what would be the incentive for Black and brown people to talk to white people?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody coming to harm you.
Yeah.
Go over there and do your own thing, shawty.
Yeah.
What do you have besides the pilfering and pillaging of the resources that we have?
Yeah.
Once that's over.
And the perception of you as powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't even think, and that wouldn't even last because, because
it's flimsy right now.
It's flimsy. And so I think there's a real fear of even folks that are doing this work in climate that Black and brown people will say, well, we've built up. There's something called dependence theory, which is the idea that we give out aid in order to continue to pilfer and pillage from these communities, but we have no incentive into creating stability because then they become competitions, or that idea of pet to threat.
Holy hell. I look like what I've been through.
Oh, God. Oh. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Hood rat too.
Head rat.
What's wrong, babe?
It's just, I don't know. I don't really be, yes, it's Happy New Year. I don't really, like I said, I don't really subscribe to the Western Gregorian calendar in that way.
Oh, so you're celebrating, when is lunar? February 17th?
It's going to come out. I don't know if I even celebrate that. Didn't you say in Ethiopia the New Year is in March?
They're actually in 2018. They're in 2026.
See, that's where I want to be. I need to go to Addis because that's where I want to be back in 2018. Actually, I don't want to be it. Well, 2018 was almost very similar to what we're having now. That's when the Trump administration attempted their first foray into a coup in Venezuela was in 2018, under the direction
You're jumping right into this.
I'm not, but I'm just saying it wouldn't be no different. It wouldn't be no different if it was 2018, 2022, 2026. It don't. I don't know.
How are you feeling? It's a new year.
Fairly nihilistic.
That's not true. That's not true. You've been waking up saying it's my year.
It is my year.
I'm ready.
Okay.
You did a little dance the other day.
No, it really is my year though.
You got up. You was getting ready.
It's
you gave us a
year.
pep talk. Can you give us a pep talk for the year, Ebony?
La lucha continua.
And
La lucha continua.
What else you got?
Y'all, they are in a race to the finish for our minds.
Okay.
So y'all got to tighten.
What do they got to do?
Y'all got to tighten it. Y'all got to read, even though some of y'all be reading, and it's like, what are you reading?
What are you reading?
You get all your information
y'all
from
a reading journal. You need a reading journal.
ABC, y'all watch your ABC News and all type of Fox subsidiaries, and y'all people. I don't know. I don't really have too much of a pep talk in me now, but I will say that it's all our year and that the tide is turning and it's changing. And if you white and your name is not Meg Ryan, Margaret Ann Ryan. Because her real name is Margaret. If you not Meg Ryan and you white, no, he out. He been out.
No.
He's been out.
Walter Goggins is really taking it for me.
If we really think about the year, the cycle of the years, or time rather, in this linear way that we think about it as human beings, in this particular time space dimension, not as human beings, but in the Western world, the linear ways in which we think about time. Because as we know on the continent, other cultures don't believe in time in a linear way. For certain cultures, time is circular and all type of shit. But we think about that for the last 2,000 years, whiteness has been in. Mm-hmm. It's finna go out. So are we almost at the point of it going out?
I'm ready.
And the reason how I know that is because now you see this huge influx of white media. You see now them is writing shit like men are so bad. When people say men, we already know universalized man. The dog whistle for that is just white man.
Yep.
White cisgender men. They ain't talking about their own communities. Called them for fuck's sake. And y'all talking about men are so bad. But whatever. That. Again, you see with the Golden Globes, same shit from 2 years ago, that adolescence thing, winning all the shit.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that a lot. How long can you be nominated for something?
I don't know.
I thought after like a year, you're no longer eligible to be nominated.
But it also just wasn't good. It wasn't that good.
But it coddles a white, cis, young boy's violence
Yes.
right? And you don't even see, I think you see the victim. I don't even think you see the victim.
Mm-hmm.
The focus is on that white boy and his family.
And this little fake redemption arc, I guess, whatever they trying to do.
Well, they're trying to say that the problem is society, and that's why white boys are acting in this way.
Okay, it's the society and it's the household.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the last 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Okay.
It's been
but
an
Adolescence, the
uninterrupted...
show on Netflix did not address the last 2,000 years. I'm making it very clear.
So now everything, I want y'all to all think about, everything is about the last 2,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
We actually are in, not 2026, we more politically, socially, economically in about 600 BC.
That's how you feel?
BCE, yes, we're in that.
Why?
Or CE, 600 CE. I mean, everything that you see now, today, our modern world, racialized economy, every single issue that you can track geopolitically relates to that.
Mm.
It has a deep connection to that.
Mm-hmm.
It is happening not just because of it, but it's happening inside of it, right? These things are a continuum and they follow a clear trajectory historically and socio-historically. So none of what I'm saying is original. None of what I'm saying or none of what really none of us say hasn't been said before. It ain't shit new under the sun. So to go back to your question, I'm trying to find some newness inside of a very old, regimented structure that we live in. So I'm needing my newness to not be related to the year because I don't be feeling like shit be new.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see more old as the years progress. I'm starting to see the past become more preeminent.
Yeah.
So I feel like the newness that I've been feeling is more spiritual, internal.
Okay. Not about the world.
Nah, like I feel like it's something inside of me that's changing.
Yeah.
That is transitioning and that may not coincide with the change of the year.
Okay.
In the Western Gregorian calendar. I feel something happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're the fire horse.
Yeah. You know how Diana Ross said, touch me in the morning. You feel what I'm saying?
Keep going. Keep going.
That's the best part of the song.
If that's how you feel?
Yeah.
You want to be touched in the morning?
Erica. Anyway, Happy New Year. How are you feeling?
Happy New Year. I am feeling sad.
Okay.
I am feeling challenged. I feel like if I could speak personally, some of my personal relationships have really been tested over the last almost 3 years now, where my therapist says, you are the one that's changing. You're the one that's shifting. If any sort of common denominator rhetoric comes into the space, you are the common denominator in that you're the common denominator that's been going to therapy and that's been working on, really breaking these generational curses and ties of really just putting up with bullshit. And I have been met with people who, which I think is very much a reflection of the world, who rather just move on, quite literally, and not be accountable to the pain and or harm that they have caused in my direction.
Yes.
And I am just not going to stand for it. And I feel like it's a very lonely place. Absolutely. When you stand up for yourself and you say, you know what, I'm actually not going to tolerate mess. I don't appreciate that. And you do owe me an apology. And if you don't want to give me an apology, then I don't know how we move forward, right? It's very interesting living in a country, let's just bring it down to this country, that literally facilitated chattel slavery for 250 years plus considering the prison industrial complex. We could even say the medical industrial complex, like all of that is a function of that history.
But they said, at least you're free.
And all they said was, sorry, we'll put some of it in the history book and we're not going to give you anything for it. And you got to just move on. That's literally what white supremacists say all the time. Just move on or move to another country. No one wants to deal with the harm that they cause. So I keep expecting my personal relationships to be a reflection of something different than what the world is already projecting. And, it's heartbreaking. It is.
It really is.
Because I do work in that world all the time. I'm talking about the world and how the world functions and all of these systems. And then also to be dealing with it in my personal life, it feels shitty because it just makes me see that the people I thought I was aligned with, I'm not actually aligned with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. I want to say more, but I'm trying to be mindful of my. Also, I feel like just as a side, like protecting my personal life as well. Somebody that's incredibly public. Yeah. People know damn near everything that is going on for the most part in my life from what they think, right? But they don't. No, they don't. And I do think it's important to share, but I also feel like I want to pull back from sharing so much because of what people do with that sharing, right? Like people will get mad at you about Venezuela and use things that you said about your personal life. I don't appreciate that. So
Has that happened?
No, people had just said, "Oh, what do you know about Venezuela? You watched Love Island or some shit." Oh no, for heated rivalry, somebody was like, "Well, what do you know about this? You watch Love Island."
No, the most that's so rich.
Valid.
That's so rich.
I don't know anything about any sort
weird
of
ass boy love, semi pseudo pedophilic. Weird ass fanfic. No, I don't know nothing about that.
I don't know anything about it when I literally sit up here and critique Love Island. Y'all think I'm sitting up here watching Love Island like really into this? Like I'm really, really watching it. Every single season, if you've watched with me, I am critiquing the entire show.
Let me tell you what they watching if they ain't watching Love Island. They watching all the other litany of dating romantic BS stuff on TV.
Yes.
Oh no, I just watch Love is Blind and I watch Heated Rivalry. Like that's better than watching Love Island.
Okay.
That's the same demographic. Well, no. Well, the Heated Rivalry saying they got a whole new niche demographic and subculture that they're tapping into that y'all ain't hip to. Well, but whatever.
Well, we have a special guest here today to talk about Heated Rivalry that we will be introducing here soon because clearly I have no jurisdiction as a queer person, which has been happening to me often. I say as a queer person because a lot of people have been misgendering me and I want to say missexualizing, but that's incorrect. That's not what I want to say. They've just been labeling me as hetero and related to me as such. And I feel like a lot of the pushback that I got around Heated Rivalry was people thinking that I'm not queer.
I don't think they don't think you're not queer. It's that the white cisgender sort of queer hierarchy is deciding who and what has jurisdiction inside of queerness.
Yes.
Right? That's why the For Them magazine in support of a press run, I don't know, feel like they getting paid or something by the Heated Rivalry people, by the producers of that show, or HBO or Crave or whoever the fuck, because every other fucking article is about that, but that's why they're saying men are so bad. Right? That's why there's an excitement around cisgender men and masculinity. That is kind of what they're saying, but it's also all misogynistic. Yeah. Right? Inside of misogyny or anti-blackness is that we are depersonalized. We're dehumanized. We don't have no genders except the gender that they tell you to have. You don't have no sexuality except the one that they think you should have. Okay. Like I told you, and I don't think you remembered that when we was in Park City and we was walking a long time ago, and you had a shirt on that said bottom. I think it said bottom. Yes, I don't think it said top. It said bottom. You is a bottom, so it's a bottom on it.
I am averse, I would say.
Let me not put, let me not do like.
You wouldn't say I'm averse.
I know you in real life, so that's different. I'm intimate with, so it's different. No, man. No.
I'm not averse?
No.
I can top.
Maybe. Okay. We'll experiment. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. We have, but I feel like you are a bottom. You like to, that's what you said. You're a service verse.
I feel like I could be a service verse. Maybe I need to watch Heated Rivalry for some tips. Yeah, a service verse.
Okay.
I top in my life. So sometimes I feel like sexually I would like a break. Right. So that's where I feel like, okay, I would like to be catered to is what's coming to mind, but honestly, bottoms, in my opinion, and a lot of the kink world are the dominant ones. Yes, absolutely. They control the scene.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I'm still in some sort of
control
power role, if you will. Yes. But I do want to feel held and supported in my sexual relationships because I just feel like in my life I'm constantly topping. But I feel like sexually I could top.
You could do whatever you want. I'm open to that.
But you're saying that I don't.
You don't, typically. That's what I'm saying. You bottom. So you are shit. So the irony of the story is that we walking and I think I heard one of them be like, oh, what does she know about bottom? And it's like, so only people that could bottom is cisgender gay That's how they think.
Yes.
They think that they have some. That's why they get so upset with black trans people, because they're like, y'all are interrupting, and just trans people in general, the white cis gay sort of hegemonic, I would say, power structure. They get so irritated with us because we complicate their efforts to have ownership over queerness. Yeah. And that's what it's about. And it's what you talk about this all the time with the binary. It's like, y'all are just looking at me. Y'all are sort of adherents to the binary gender, whether y'all are queer or not. Yeah, so people think that just because a person is queer that they don't uphold it. Yeah. Because they queer. Queers uphold the gender binary element. Yeah. All the time. Yeah. So it's not that they are, I think that you're straight or that you are not queer. You're not queer enough. Yeah. You're not white enough. Yeah. Yeah. Because in that's kind of what it signals. Yeah. And that's the issue that I'm having with white gays. I'm having a big issue with them. And I've always had a big issue with them. But I have a huge issue with that piece, the racism. And I think that's the biggest part. It's like, you would have to strip me of my queerness in order to not be overtly anti-black. You got to say something about, you must not be queer. It's like, you must be straight.
Yeah, it's like that's their entry point. Yeah.
Right, because if a non-binary queer person is telling you, a femme non-binary person, or even just a person who is not white, cisgender gay, or in a way that you can recognize as valuable, there's going to be some consternation there regardless. Yeah. Because how do we talk to one another? What is the relationship that we have in the queer community across racial demographics, right? Or across gender lines. Yeah. And the multitude of genders that there are, what's the conversations that we're having with each other?
Yeah, and I would say that with all of that being said, that is why I am evaluating more closely as I walk into my 40th year on this rotation around this sun. Of my relationships, because I deal with this stuff on a regular basis, that my relationships, yes, conflict is not a problem. It's not a bad thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with conflict, but coming up against conflict that feels very similar to what I deal with in the world is not what I want in my relationships. I want my relationships to be a soft place to land, right? I want that to be a reciprocal experience for the other person as well. And I just feel like I'm not experiencing that. And it feels so one-sided with the internet and social media that I just don't want to replicate that. So that's where I'm at coming into 2026. I feel sad. I feel sad about the world. I feel sad and grieving a lot of my relationships that I thought would last forever.
Thank you for sharing that, baby.
Thank you.
Yes. You don't have to assert your humanity online to losers, nor do you have to assert your humanity online or offline to people in your life. None of us have to assert our humanity. Yeah. But we do. Yeah. And that's the hard part. Is
and
that
I feel like there's a little bit of an embarrassment on my part of asserting my humanity with these folks. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like protesting on the street, asserting humanity and fighting up against injustices and speaking out against. I don't feel embarrassment about that. But for some reason, me standing up for myself with the people in my life and being like, hey, can you take up for me? Hey, can you have my back? Hey, can you apologize? That feels embarrassing. I don't know. That's something that I possibly need to work out in therapy, but it feels... it's a level of vulnerability that I don't necessarily feel so comfortable tapping into. I hope that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I think also, just because you feel embarrassment does not mean the behavior or the action that you took in standing up for yourself was embarrassing. Like, embarrassment is just a normal human emotion. That does not necessarily mean that by any stretch of the imagination that what we do in order to assert our humanity should be seen as embarrassing. What probably comes up is a lot of fear. Just like when any of us who's organized, who protests, who've been on the streets, who've been doing this for a long time, you do feel a level of fear. You do feel vulnerability. Yes. But oftentimes you don't second guess it because you got all the empirical data, history, facts on your side, right? When you're out there and you protesting systems of oppression, you know that from the inside out. But then when you go into your personal life, you start to second guess the empirical data, the history, and the facts of your relationships and your journeys and your personal trajectory. So you start to doubt yourself more in the home or in your personal life than you do on the street. Yeah. right?
Yeah.
But the state is in all of this.
It's
like
in
you
all,
talk about, you talk about
all of
this,
it.
right? So I'm just a mirror to you of the things that you have talked about. But I know when we be going through it, it's hard to tap into.
It's hard to tap into.
And then you start to second guess yourself, and that's the point, right? It's the point of people online.
Yeah.
Is the hope is that you will second guess yourself, because we are all, into some degree, dealing with varying levels of insecurity in so many ways, including people online and people feeling like heated rivalry. Oh, it's so affirming of me and my queerness. That indicates such a dearth. It makes me actually sad for people. Not even sad for them, but I see and I can empathize with the dearth and the lack of images and imagery or representation that would make a queer person in this world feel seen, right? I can see that. I can understand, like, oh, this is all I can get. But the thing about you is you're not a this is all I can get person. You're not easily satisfied and placated.
Yeah.
So you always gonna have problems.
I know.
Unless you start being like other people.
That's what Dr. Joy James said too.
Just start being like other people, man.
Yeah.
Just start, join the crowd, join the mob.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just the choices we all face right now.
Yeah.
Is you gonna fuck with the crowd or you gonna do your own thing? You gonna follow when you conform and you do what other people say and you fall in line, you're gonna have a much easier time. Dr. Joy James, she talked about when you're not coming up against the state or you're not confronting state violence or you're doing things that oppose state violence, they're gonna give you a long leash and a long lead. Right? You're gonna have a lot more leeway that looks like perks and benefits to you. But at the end of the day, you still on a leash.
Yeah.
So you want to live your life free. You want to be free, babe.
Yeah.
It's a cost.
Yeah.
It's a cost.
Thank you for ministering to me. That was
what I call come from Jennifer Hudson. What Jennifer Hudson say? What did
I don't like
that, but what did you say? You changed. What'd you say?
What?
I'm changing.
You're
changing.
I am changing. I am. Thank you very much, babe. I really appreciate that. If anybody else is in a similar position, say something in the comments. Let us know. I know it's not just me. I know it's not just me. It makes me think about Keith Porter, who was murdered by an off-duty ICE agent in Los Angeles, December 31st. And nobody was really talking, other than his family and his community, was really talking about his passing until Renee Nicole Goode was murdered in point blank range in Minneapolis.
At the protest.
Right. And what makes me think about that is that Renee Nicole Goode is a queer person, and she had just dropped off her 6-year-old kid with her wife, and all of the media, even her family, was like I believe her father was like, I have to go pick up my grandchild who now has no parents, completely ignoring that her partner exists. So it's like, even in death, blackness completely ignored, and also queerness ignored on this other, end. And while there's all of this focus on Renee Nicole Goode because she's a white woman, right? And folks completely don't even know the name of Keith Porter, right? And yeah, I'm just like, okay, yeah, you're gonna have some stuff in your life when this is what's happening in the world, but also the thing that I sit with the most with both situations, but the countless amount of people that we have lost due to ICE in 2025
Black
and 2026.
And Latinx immigrants.
Both named and unnamed, right? And a lot of times we don't know the names of the people that we've lost because we live in a carceral state. They're not going to tell you. They're going to also, if they do tell you, they're going to justify it, which is what they're doing with Keith Porter and also with Renee Nicole Goode.
And they're also doing it with Jean Wilson Brutus, who was a Haitian immigrant who was detained in ICE custody right in Newark, New Jersey, and died with very little inquiry or investigation into what happened. But the government website for immigration and customs enforcement is calling, even in death, calling Jean Wilson Brutus an illegal criminal. That's the language that they're using. It's not me conjecturing. That's what they think. That is official government language. So a lot of what you're making me think about is narrative. People's narratives.
Yes.
Which narratives get privileged? What narratives do we start to adopt, including the ones that people say that people impose upon us? Right? In our personal lives and in the world.
And then having somebody who is unfortunately one of the most powerful people in the world, Donald Trump, say those things about you and your family. It's like, what then? What are you supposed to do? Yet you're now pushing up against so many narratives. Like, it's just it's same as the people that, which is now the death count in Venezuela is up to 100 people. And there was a white journalist on, I think, MSNBC saying we attacked Venezuela with very little casualties. That is a direct quote of what she said. I keep talking about this because I just cannot believe the things that come out of people's mouths. That is somebody's parent. That's somebody's cousin. That's somebody's friend. That's somebody's loved one, right? That's someone's partner who is no longer here. And you sit up here talking about very little casualties. Just it just shows that we come from a death cult. That you have no care. You have no concern. Y'all are ripe for being ICE agents. You don't give a fuck. And police and IOF and military, like, I can't even imagine being a doctor, right? Like, I watch doctor shows. I'm like, if anybody died in front of me, I would never be okay. There's no way I could just go on to the next patient. And I'm not saying that doctors are killing people, by the way, but I'm saying that just in general, seeing somebody die in front of you, but being the cause of it?
The death cult is whiteness.
Yes.
This is white supremacy is a death style.
Yeah.
They often say that about when niggas be cripping and blood in a gangbang. They say it's not a lifestyle, it's a death style. No, this is a death style.
Yeah.
What we live in. This is what I'm saying, the last 2,000 years.
Yeah.
The last 2,000 years is going to start to feel like the last 20 minutes in 2026. It already has. It only January 12th.
Yeah.
Right? And the United States has already kidnapped a president of another country and their wife in order to essentially extract oil from the country. That is what it's about. You also mentioned that there's so many narratives and there's certain things we could dispense with that we know is not true. But oftentimes it's like, is these things true? Is the person on MSNBC? A lot of people are watching them. They was like, this must be true.
Yeah.
What this person is saying now on MSNBC.
Yeah.
How'd they look?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did they look?
White woman.
You know?
Like the connections to people talk about my watching of reality TV, but one of the contestants on Love is Blind, former contestant, was talking about the connections they're making to what's happening in politics and that they like Nikes. They like Nike shoes. They got all the shoes and blah, 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 blah. And they noticed that when the U.S. went into Venezuela and removed Maduro and his wife, the pictures that they have of him, he's in Nike wear.
Yeah.
And the Nike stock went up after they went into Venezuela.
You know who else stock went up?
Yeah, but the person that owns Nike is also in oil.
There you go. The energy sector had its biggest day on the market since April of 2025.
He had a meeting with them. He had a meeting with them, all of the oil companies. And he said, you told me this. He said, you give me $1 billion, then I will invade Venezuela. The thing that's so wild to me is they're literally telling you.
Verbatim.
It's verbatim. It's not like, I felt like, and maybe this is because of my age, but I felt like under Bush with Iraq, I felt like we were in the dark.
And Venezuela.
I felt September 11th. I felt like I don't know anything that's going on. But Trump is very clearly telling you everything. I mean, there's nothing hidden.
George Bush, that's because of, again, narrative.
Yes.
Right. You got to think of these politicians and these elected officials, all of them, almost like reality star contestants.
I mean, he is.
Actors.
Trump is.
He is legitimately a reality TV television personality. And now he runs his country. So that gives all of us some grounding as to what we could reasonably expect from our government. Yeah. Right? That should nobody be confused. As they used to tell me in school, I had a teacher, he used to always say that, you think fat meat ain't greasy. A lot of y'all think that. Literally, he used to tell us. It said,
Mr.
Like
your mom or your uncle.
No, that wasn't Mr. Arsenal. That was my principal. But literally, he used to say in 7th grade, y'all think fat meat ain't greasy. He used to tell us that all the time.
What context was he trying to explain?
Because he was like, y'all playing with me and y'all know I don't play. Y'all act like fat meat ain't greasy. I'm finna we would be in class acting up. That's what he would tell you.
Oh my God.
But that's the whole thing. Y'all act like y'all don't understand what is actually happening. And you use this false narrative. You saw it after October 7th in 2023 with the illegal occupation of Palestine by the Israeli government. Another iteration of it, using that as a scapegoat and a reason to further escalate the occupation. They'll say it's complicated.
Yeah.
Right? They'll start to say, I don't actually know. And what about this perspective? And it's like, you're obfuscating and using that as a deflection. We do know.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Venezuela has the largest oil reserve in the world.
We know.
Right?
We know.
Crude oil finished on the Dow at the top. Chevron outperformed. Exxon, Chevron outperformed on the Dow literally 2-3 days ago. You know what the headlines say in plain language? Oh, oil has best day amid unrest in Venezuela.
Weird.
What don't y'all understand about what is happening? What, y'all don't know race work different in Venezuela. Was Venezuela a slavocratic economy? Did they have slavery in Venezuela? Yes. So all slavocratic economies are going to look very similar, just like the one you have here. The people who are white and privilege are generally going to be at the top economically, socioeconomically. They're going to be overwhelmingly represented in the annals of government. And then the people who don't look like that, who are black or indigenous, they're going to be at the bottom, right? They're going to be the people who make up the means of production in order to have a moneyed, affluent class. It works the same way in Venezuela. So what happened is that the white elites in Venezuela didn't bargain for the population being the majority. They didn't bargain for that.
Yeah.
Right? The majority of the population in the United States is white. That's not the case in Venezuela. So they didn't expect them to actually have a government or to literally have multiple revolutions, right? We talk about this word revolution all the time. Revolutions are happening right now. Yeah. It's happening in Iran. It's happening in Venezuela. It's happening here.
Yep.
It's happening here.
Yep.
And it's not happening on our phone screen. Right? It's not happening on Reddit. It's not where, that's not where it's happening. But that's the thing. I am most concerned with people's responses. You mentioned George Bush. The reason why during 9/11, I mean, we were also hella young, so we didn't know. We're dependent on the adults in our life to contextualize.
Yeah, I kept asking my dad, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And none of the news was like, this is happening because resources. You know, but it could have just been age. Yeah.
Right, but also, no, because the American media is not going to say U.S. foreign policy is white supremacist in nature,
but they're
and
saying
xenophobic.
They're saying it now. It's so many. They don't even need to say.
But the way that they characterized George Bush was he's like a friendly fascist.
Yeah,
they characterized George Bush as a soft power president.
Soft power.
Yes, they employ soft power overwhelmingly. That's the thing. Who gets to call it soft?
Yeah.
Soft for whom?
Yeah.
Right? What's happening in Venezuela with the United States' latest military aggression since early as October or September against Venezuela? You could call that a low intensity conflict, right? Not low in terms of severity, but low in terms of the resources that the United States has to employ. They don't have to actually do much. Right? Because they will just use the CIA and all the CIA operatives, and 15,000 troops is what they used in Venezuela this time around. And they're trying to convince all of us that they run in the country. Venezuela has a military and they have a government, right? That's Venezuela. The United States doesn't run Venezuela. But when you hear that, it's like, oh, it must have happened. They did it, right? We believe what we're told. It's narrative control. Donald Trump is trying to follow in the footsteps of the law and order president of Ronald Reagan, right? And George H.W. Bush, right? Even though George H.W. Bush, Daddy Bush, was also marketed as and perceived as not as violently racist or overtly racist as of Donald Trump or Ronald Reagan. This is the characterization, Erica.
Like you said, according to whom?
This the narrative control.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
who
what we're
controls the narrative.
Who is
we're all pushing up against?
Who is controlling these narratives? Like, who are we believing? Where are we getting our news sources from?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Who are we believing is a big one.
Right.
It's a big one that I think about a lot. Because we get a lot of pushback in our direction that if somebody who was light skinned or white or, blonde hair or kinky hair that was a little softer pattern, like, would actually be believed. Right. And they wouldn't get as much pushback as we get on a regular basis. Yep. There's a thing called I'm not an influencer, but because I have a large following, people relate to me as an influencer. So I use this language just to talk about it for just a second, is that there's something called someone that's brand safe or someone that's not brand safe.
That sounds like soft power.
That talks about someone that talks about Palestine or talks about politics or talks about racism or fat phobia on a regular basis. These are people that are considered not brand safe. But if you talk about it once and you have it hidden in stories or hidden in a highlight, or maybe you put a little note in your bio, you're considered brand safe, right? And you'll get more gigs and you'll get more content, right? So people are constantly fighting to have that. But then I think that there's people that are still considered brand safe if they have the desirability features that everybody wants, right? Even though they're talking about all the same things that everybody else is talking about, because they look that way, they're still considered brand safe. And I think that is something that's fascinating to me.
I wonder if that's a descriptor or if that is actual language.
It's an internal descriptor.
Wow.
That's why I haven't had gigs.
Marketing.
Yeah, that's why I haven't gotten gigs in like almost 3 years.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why they stopped coming. You're not considered brand safe.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Which I'm like, I don't know how I've ever been considered brand safe, but that's the thing. That's why I shifted, and you were so pivotal in that, and telling me, like, don't have these people just use you for being this breast cancer beacon of light. Like, you do so much more than that. And also your life is so much more than that, right? They wanted to just constantly use me for this source of inspiration. They didn't want me to actually talk about medical apartheid.
Well, yeah, they didn't want you to talk about medical racism. Why people get breast cancer.
Right. They don't want me, but also not just the reasons why, because do we even know, but the reasons why people die, and particularly Black people, prematurely from breast cancer. Yeah. They didn't want me to talk about that. They just want me to be like, I hated my body and now I love it. Like, that's it. Fucking insurance company.
Yeah.
Like, this country, death cult.
Yeah.
They don't actually want anybody to live.
Is this a dictatorship here, you think?
Yes, but it's always, in my opinion, it's always been a dictatorship, and I get a lot of pushback on that.
I believe that it's always back against that.
Because people say that Obama, that Joe Biden, the narrative is that these were great presidents. They were not dictators. You were able to protest under them, is what people say.
So people in Venezuela didn't protest? They don't remember the 1989 protests? The argument people make, well, you get to protest openly.
Yeah. They're saying that they protest, but then they'll be killed. If they speak out against their government, they'll be removed. And I'm like, do you think that doesn't happen?
The person in Minneapolis.
But you can person in Minneapolis wasn't, she literally was just sitting in her car, and they're literally making a narrative that she was trying to run over somebody. Mind you, she was shot from the side.
Kyle Rittenhouse during the 2020 protest.
Talk about it.
Here, Black Lives Matter protest. 17-year-old white cis boy could have been probably cast on adolescence. Literally crossed state lines to kill 2 protesters at a protest that he has no ideological affiliation with. Couldn't be further diametrically opposed to his own politics. He's not a Black Lives Matter proponent, or he just came, he said, to protect private property that he don't own in a state that he don't live in, and his mother drove him to go do it. And 2 people, one of whom was Black and one of whom was white, lost their lives at the hands of a 17-year-old white cis boy. So again, the
National Guard in Ferguson didn't kill anybody? Those people were protesting.
But when it happens to Black people, Erica, it doesn't really happen.
This is why nobody is talking about Keith Porter.
No.
The protest that we saw in Montclair, we're driving down the street yesterday, Montclair, New Jersey.
That was for Renee.
All of them signs said Renee, Nicole, Goode. Not one sign said Keith Porter.
No.
Not one sign.
Not one said Jean Wilson Brutus. And the fact that happened at one of the most notorious detention centers, not 10 minutes from Montclair. Okay. At Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey. Okay. So that's my thing, is like, I am in this mode of, I want to track the logic or the illogic of people's responses to state violence.
You already tracked it.
I do, but it's like, it has it's like multi-layered.
I think we have to deal with the grief of it, because you already know it. You already know that they don't give a fuck about black people. You already know. That's why we're going to bring Bryson in a second, because you already know that if Heated Rivalry had 2 black gay cis men, this show would not be as popular. You would not even hear about it.
No.
So we know how people regard black people. We know it in our soul. But I think our brain literally does. Our brain tries to keep us from pain. It will bury intentionally harmful memories to the point where a lot of people don't even remember what happened to them traumatically. Because our brain is trying to protect us. So I think our brain is trying to protect us from the trauma that we are seeing over and over again, the pattern recognition that we have, that if it's a black person that's harmed, it's not going to be much attention paid to it. People are not really going to care. They're going to be like, oh, well, I guess, like, whatever. White people's bodies are the currency. They don't give a fuck about us. It's not the currency. What do they say? And I'm reading Health Communism right now, and it's talking about surplus.
Surplus value.
Yeah, the surplus value. That's us.
Yes. Yes, surplus.
We create the surplus.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So I think what we don't want to deal with, and I think a lot of organizers and a lot of folks working a movement don't necessarily spend too much time on, is the grief. And I think that's what inevitably takes us out of doing this work, is how much sadness that we hold that we never actually get to sit and process or be with at all.
Well, now you don't need to do that. You can just watch Heated Rivalry. No, for real. It's an escape. Come on, Bryson, because look, I done had it to here with the white gays.
Sit here. Hello. Welcome. We have a token gay. Since I'm not queer enough to talk about Heated Rivalry, since y'all hated my take, I have someone, a good friend of mine, who read the entire book in like less than 24 hours.
How did you do that?
Trauma from grad school.
Okay.
So I can read pretty quickly.
That is so impressive.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Oprah episodes of those speed readers who would just go on the book and be like this?
I don't.
And they would you're too young.
Y'all don't seem to remember.
Yes.
Well, we have a very, very esteemed and special guest.
Yes.
Right there. Right. Special to us.
Yes.
Special to the world. Special to our LGBTQIA plus community.
Yes.
In our black LGBTQIA plus community.
Say that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All in the Midwest, all the way to the metropoles in New York City.
Yes.
So we have Ohio's own.
Yes.
In the building.
Columbus, specifically, 614.
615. In the building. We have Bryson here. Yeah. And I know Bryson through Erica.
Yeah.
So Erica has introduced me, since being together for 10 years, to all these incredible educators and scholars, of whom Bryson is one of them. So I'm excited to have you on, not just to talk about Heated Rivalry, but I also find you and look to you as a resource.
Thank you.
Right? I look to you as a resource in the sense that if y'all are looking for people to read, people to follow, people to actually help contextualize and demystify some of the mythology and lies that you're told in the mainstream media on a litany of topics, Bryson is one of those people.
Yeah.
Right. So we will have the description of where y'all can find Bryson information, support them, patronize them. We'll have all of that in the description of this episode.
Yes.
Erica, how do you know Bryson?
I know Bryson working in the trenches of community organizing, queer community organizing in these nonprofits, in these nonprofit streets.
Yes.
And Bryson worked at HMI for several years. I worked at Grand Street Settlement, and we often collaborated on balls, on workshops, and all the things. And Bryson was always just a light and somebody that I always enjoyed seeing and enjoyed, sharing space with. And then from there, a budding friendship has flourished. Yes. And I love and appreciate all of your suburban-ish quirkiness, your love for Fiona Apple.
Yes, Fiona.
And this is a ride or die Mariah Carey stand.
Yes.
This is a cultural beacon who we have have here. So I'm very excited to have you on the podcast.
Bryson's one of legendary children.
Yes.
Bryson's one of legendary children.
Bryson
might be a lightweight icon.
No, not lightweight.
No, you are
an icon. Yeah.
You too young to be an icon right now, but you one of legendary children and also icon. So please tell the people who you are in your own way.
Who am I?
Yes, what would you say?
I am a product of a Black community in Columbus, Ohio, of people who just really wanted to live a life with dignity. My paternal grandfather worked 2 full-time jobs for 18 years so that my grandmother didn't have to work. He is a child of a coal miner. My grandmother is a child of coal miners. And so I come from a stock of Black people who just wanted to feel grounded, who wanted to build a strong foundation for themselves and their families and didn't want much. Now, I want them to want more.
Yes.
I want them to want more.
Yeah.
But they are very, they're the salt of the earth type of people.
Yes.
And from that, I have become a person who questions a lot. I failed at a lot of the stereotypes that people wanted to put upon me, and I used to internalize that.
Yes.
Like, why am I not meeting this mark? And then I think somewhere in college I realized those systems didn't really work. And to be quite honest, they don't work for anybody. Like, I thought I was the only one pretending, but like, come to find out everyone's fucking pretending.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And there's a fear of naming that because those powers that be that you were talking about earlier do come down, they come hard, and they come fast.
Yeah.
And no one wants to be the first person punched in the face.
No.
And so I appreciate both of you for saying the bag is not worth my integrity. And I mean, y'all have been critics of Israel since I've known both of you. So like this, y'all not new to this, you're true to this.
Yes.
But after October 7th, you all were very clear in this moment of who you had to be on record, in perpetuity, so that the meeting minutes of Earth will reflect that there were folks who had always been against this.
Meeting minutes of Earth. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it costs, like, I don't think people understand how much more you could have materially.
Oh,
yes.
They think we have enough.
They don't even know.
We have it all.
Right?
Yeah. They have no idea.
And like we were mentioning earlier, we know some folks who make $1 million or more in salary working at large tech companies.
Working at these large nonprofits.
Or just doing influencer content creation.
Yeah. And so there is a level of sacrifice you have to have. That's really hard to be someone who has a real clear moral compass when it comes to what it means to live a life. And I thank both of you for just continuing to allow other people to step into their truth telling because it's the Wizard of Oz. Like, there's nothing on the other side. It's just freedom. Yeah. Really.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a sex cardigan.
What the hell is that?
Wicked.
A sex You be watching
watched it, babe. You watched
it.
You saw
on that.
I watched the first one and liked it. The second one, I was like, y'all could have kept that.
They could have kept it.
Now, to be fair, in real life, I went to see Wicked 10 years ago and I left during intermission because it was a lot. And I was like, there's more after this. I can't do this.
It's that's real.
So the first time I had ever seen...
You saw Broadway.
Yeah, but I only saw half of it.
You were like, I'm out.
The first time I saw what actually happens at the end was in the film.
Oh my, that's...
Because I was like...
Yeah, you did. You better
I said,
than me.
oh, there's a second part after Defying Gravity. I'm good.
That's real. That's
Erica
real.
was like, give me mine.
You know, I've never seen Wicked on Broadway. It's like an image for me because I used to work at an English as a second language school in Times Square. It doesn't matter. But every time I would walk from when I lived in Hell's Kitchen up, I would always see the advertisement for Wicked.
You want to go see it?
No. I'm good. I'm good. I got my Wicked fill.
But Bryson, thank you so much for just thank you for saying that, just for witnessing us. And something that you said about your upbringing kind of stuck out to me. Is like you said you failed people's expectations of what you were supposed to be. And I just had a thought in my head of, I don't know if there's anything blacker or gayer than being the descendant and child of coal miners in the Midwest in Ohio. You were almost destined and bound to be gay as a result of that.
It is.
It just makes me
It's
really
very gay.
It needs to be a movie and it needs to be a series. Of
My
their life.
spirit is a repudiation of white, cis, hetero, capitalist patriarchy.
Yeah.
It is the idea of
That's so good.
this body is made for lots of things, but not harm and not just soul production.
No.
And I think being 6'3", being 270, being athletic, and choosing to use my strength for to protect other
Yes.
folks, to dance, to move freely, to express femininity
Yes.
is a repudiation. And so I do think Toni Morrison says, people say, we didn't ask to be born. I think we do. And we're meant to do something that we respect.
Yeah.
You practice E5?
I don't.
Because you're on your E5 right now. You're trying to live. That's what people talk about E5.
Yeah.
Is we were born to live out our highest purpose and destiny. I feel like your upbringing is so close to the source of blackness, which is, Erica talk about all the time, is queer, is inherently queer.
Yeah.
I mean, coal mining was another form of slavery, essentially. It was a big part of the slave trade, was mining, right? And I mean, the global slave trade, for all you dingbats out there, in Venezuela, they had gold mines, and guess who they imported? They imported Africans, right? They had killed off the indigenous slave labor that they used, the Spanish, and then they imported indigenous Africans to do it. So mining is a big, huge part of, I think a lot of people, when they think about slavery, especially in the U.S. and even in different parts of the United States, they always think about cotton and they think about cultivating crops. They don't realize that the mining and the working on the docks, that type of work. So what was it like growing up? Do you think about like that labor that they was doing? How did that influence your childhood? Were they harder, or did it have a hardness in your family?
The only memories I have of my great grandfather, Hosea Scales, is in the back of an Oldsmobile, and he has a breathing machine. A lot of people developed black lung and died as a result. And he was no different. He died as a result of black lung. And so the memory that's etched into my spirit is thinking about the result of that high-paying, high-quality job, because it was marketed as such. And it was.
Yeah.
It allowed my great-grandmother not to have to work outside the home, it providing a prevailing wage at that time. But the result was death. It was a premature death. And so that's what I think about when I think about the legacy of coal mining in this country. And I think about two other things. One, I learned this when I was in Puerto Rico for one of my graduate seminars, was that the first energy sources in the West were people. Slavery. Before there was coal, before we were using fossil fuels, we used people. And so that's the first part. And the second part is, it is no coincidence that many, not all, but many climate organizations of which I work have not said much about the relationship between the continued use and dependence upon fossil fuels and sort of geopolitical infighting and death and destruction
and
of the
imperialism.
earth. There is this idea that it's just about saving the planet, which the planet will regenerate once we're gone. So whatever. It will be fine. We will not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the other part is really talking about how oil and LNG, liquid natural gas, has been used as a cudgel and tool for political dominance. And that there is a real fear, particularly amongst powers in the West, to move towards a more sustainable model of living, because what incentive do Black and brown nations who have all of the natural resources that we need to do all the things we're doing right now, what incentive would they have to immigrate here? What incentive do they have to be a part of this global community? Like, I think the biggest fear of white supremacists is not retribution, it's radical indifference. Black and brown people don't give a fuck about white people outside of them having all the materials. And once we move towards a more sustainable model of living, what would be the incentive for Black and brown people to talk to white people? Ain't nobody coming to harm you. Go over there and do your own thing, shawty. What do you have besides the pilfering and pillaging of the resources that we have? Once that's over.
And the perception of you as powerful.
And I don't even think, and that wouldn't even last because
it's flimsy right now.
It's flimsy. And so I think there's a real I think there's a real fear of even folks that are doing this work in climate that Black and brown people will say, well, we've built up. There's something called dependence theory, which is the idea that we give out aid in order to continue to pilfer and pillage from these communities, but we have no incentive into creating stability because then they become competitions, or that idea of pet to threat.
Yes, that's what's happening with Venezuela. You just said it in a word.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely disabling a country that can be destabilized because of who the people are and what they look like. But really, this is all American interests. We've seen this done over and over again. And something I think is really important when we're talking about how change actually comes about, it doesn't come from the outside. So if there's a real desire for people in Venezuela to shift the narrative, then they can self-determine. And this idea that this endogenous or external help is sustainable just is a farce. Because the folks inside the country have not reckoned with each other in a way that can lead to a more mutually agreeable path forward that's slow, that's intentional.
That's not racialized.
That's not without how do we rupture and repair? Right? There's this Western capitalist, let's do it, and it should be over. And that's
not how that works.
It's not how that works.
And I give a lot of grace to people who are looking and they say, well, Maduro is a dictator. And even though Trump is bad, I'm just so happy that this has happened because we got him out. And it's like, when you have the influence and the narrative control of not just the United States, but multiple Western powers, right? When the United States invaded Venezuela in 2018 in Trump's first presidency, they were essentially trying to impose this puppet dictator, Juan Guaido, who was, by all intents and purposes, a white supremacist, trying to lead a wealthy white elite opposition to Maduro during that time, claiming that Maduro stole the 2018 elections. But when that happened, that's essentially the equivalent of the Speaker of the House. What's his name?
Johnson.
What happened with Juan Guaido in 2018 was the equivalent of Mike Johnson being like, I'm the president now. Because Emmanuel Macron and France called me and told me I'm the president. So under Trump's order, Trump called Juan Guaido and said, you're the president now. So now they're the president, right? In their mind. And then the people, millions of Venezuelans who are self-determined in their own lives, went to the streets and said, no, you're not, actually, because we had an election and this is the motherfucker that we elected, right? So it's like you said.
And we'll deal with it.
And we will deal with it. And we are dealing with it.
I'm glad you pressed Puerto Rico, because the reason why I have talked so much about Venezuela is because of living in Puerto Rico and seeing my friends and even my family who's, migrated to Puerto Rico and benefited to some extent from Puerto Rico being a commonwealth, but saying things like the Puerto Rican government is corrupt. And I'm like, well, why is it corrupt? Well, yeah, because it's a commonwealth, but it's still corrupt. So constantly putting the blame on Puerto Rico and natives of Puerto Rico, but not actually looking at the U.S. or the U.S. involvement, right? And that is what I'm seeing over and over and over again with Venezuelans who mostly have migrated to the U.S., where they're like, don't speak too much on the U.S. We need to focus on how the Venezuelan government and how Maduro is, and Maduro being corrupt. It's like, nah.
And what's dangerous about not naming the sort of full context is that it can just happen again. That's the danger, right? It's not it's pretending that it is unique to Venezuela is the danger, because then it can just happen again. So we have to be mindful, critical, and honest about what were the enduring conditions that led to these conditions that we have now, and what do the people want, and how can we support what the people want. And again, that slow. We've been a community. We done been in meetings when we arguing. We got we fighting. We make up. We start talking to each other and we get something to eat. Like they need the same. They should be afforded the same opportunity to be in struggle together. Towards a sort of mutually defined destiny. But unfortunately, I just don't believe the West wants that.
Well, no.
Well, no, we never do.
And that's
we don't want the repair. We just want the rupture. Yeah. And I think we like to, that's why I say the death cult. But it's also, we like to see the rupture, right? I think we like that. I think we like the King's March or no King's March. I think we like
the
that stuff.
Performative nature
of a rupture even. Yes. It's like, oh, there's a rupture, let's perform. Like, it's
reactionary politics rather than us being, rather than some type of
organizing.
Reparation. Right. Reparation. Some type of, getting to the root and the source of the harm and then going from there. And I think that's the thing why I say I have a little bit of empathy for people. I could understand people here being like, okay, if Canada, Israel, Britain, France, all of these Western powers supported a coup attempt in Venezuela in 2018, and then you got now the Nobel Prize saying, hey, a person who overwhelmingly is not supported by most Venezuelans, Maria Corina Machado, if she is awarded the Nobel Prize essentially for doing nothing and all but beg Trump damn near short of getting on her knees to invade Venezuela in exchange for whatever oil concession, subsidy, anything she could do, I understand people being like, well, shit, they must be right. Yeah. There must be some truth to this because you have all these white powers, all these Western powers in agreement. To some extent, they're not in agreement now with this latest invasion, but they've been in agreement thus far for many, many years, right? With U.S. foreign policy. Yeah. I understand people being like, well...
It's abuse.
Right? It's like, I can empathize with that. I'm trying to stay in an empathetic
It's a whole lot of people siding with an abuser and nobody having the cojones to call out the abuser.
Well, no, they say Maduro's the abuser.
No. But they're not focusing on the abuser. They're not focusing on the United States. They're not focusing on that. They're focusing...
Yes. So one of the things I say about Israel and the creation of Israel is that there's nothing more anti-Semitic than... a group of white folks trying to take your ass out and then saying, oops, our bad.
Go over there.
First, we're going to see if you want to go to Ethiopia or other parts of Africa.
Yeah.
You don't like it over there.
Yeah.
Too fucking hot.
Yeah.
Can't handle it. Oh, there's this movement. Okay, we're going to come over here. If you wanted us to jump Germany with you or Italy, baby,
it's on site.
We was ready.
We
was ready because they did your...
get it.
They did your... They did your grave injustice.
Yes.
But the Stockholm Syndrome...
Okay, come on.
Of whiteness.
Okay, come on.
Having these folks buy into whiteness and side with the people, the very folks that try to eradicate you, and be told that your enemy are these people, is wild. So there is a continuation of people thinking that the enemy of the enemy is their friend. And what did Asada tell us? That is not true. The enemy of your enemy is not your friend.
The enemy of your enemy is not your friend.
No.
Oh, wow.
I did for the first time.
That's your op and waiting.
I just read Asada for the first time. I just finished it yesterday.
Okay. Oh.
And
how fast did you read that? I'm fascinated by how fast you read.
Okay. 7 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's considered slow.
7 days.
Slow. And it may have been longer, but Asada's mind around movement is that it is not a 2-hour PBS documentary.
No.
Yes.
It's slow.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Yes.
It requires principled struggle. It sometimes results in being decentralized. So because the forces that come at you are it's more dangerous to be centralized.
Yeah.
And it shifts. Like she says, like one of the downfalls of movements is they stay stagnant. Like things change. And so I really also think more than anything else in this moment, to think that we can do the same things over and over and expect different results is not only wildly just historically inaccurate, it's boring.
Yeah.
I want to call in something new.
Yeah.
Like, it is 2026. In 2020, people were just dying.
Yeah.
In New York City, they were thinking about burying people in the fucking parks.
Jesus.
And after that, people were losing jobs. I had a former friend emphasis on former, who lost her job on April 1st. We went into shutdown on the March 18th. This company was anticipating recuperating their losses 10 days. She lost her job. We didn't even know.
It's what Erica said. The move on.
Yeah.
That moved on.
They don't care.
We didn't even know how this shit was spread yet. And she was fired.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2024, we had folks that were not arguing for a minimum living wage and universal health care. We've experienced, and I'm talking about privilege, like this person works in like the most privileged industry. Like it's like not really real.
Yeah.
And this is not like, that doesn't galvanize us to say we deserve something better. I don't know what will. I don't know what will if we can witness that type of death, that type of destruction, that type of disabling event, and not think people shouldn't just have health care.
Yeah.
That you shouldn't lose your part because you lost your job.
Yeah.
To no fault of your own. Or even if it's your own fucking fault, girl, even if no shade, no shade, you fucked up a little bit, like, you should not fall out.
Yes.
Like, I cannot believe that we are in a moment where people just think some people deserve to die and some people deserve to be poor and some people deserve to worry their whole lives. The worry part, like, I should not worry every day in a country of such abundance, in a world of such abundance. I can't believe that shift has not happened yet.
It's the Stockholm syndrome of capitalism.
Racial capitalism.
Yeah, of just like you said, of believing that certain people should live and certain people should die.
Yes. And
period. And really being able to get into bed and sleep at night thinking I worked harder and I deserve this bed with these, I don't know what thread count, 600 thread count sheets. I deserve this, not this other person that's sleeping on the cement. Like, it is
cockamamie.
It's just truly, it makes no sense.
But then it does.
It does.
It does make sense.
It does.
And I think that's the biggest piece with everything that's happened in the world, but particularly with Venezuela. There's this in the sense of, black people, we don't want black people to get involved. Like, black Americans don't say shit like,
no, people,
y'all don't know
Venezuelans
nothing
were saying, if you're not Venezuelan, mostly white Venezuelans, if you're not Venezuelan, don't talk about Venezuela.
But that's the thing, is like, there's a desire to stop the diasporic connection between black people. Yes, Venezuelans kind of do need to work out, and it's also like due process, right? Everybody believe, and this is a government or country of laws, quote unquote, and we have due process in the 14th Amendment here. You can't just go kidnap somebody out their house and then be like, you on trial. They're accusing him of being a drug trafficker. You still don't go and kidnap people and say, on the basis of you being a drug trafficker, I'm going to then invade your whole country. Big Meech was a drug trafficker. So they said. Nobody came to invade the United States because Big Meech was moving them things. Nobody did that.
He just pardoned the Honduras.
Juan Orlando.
Yes, like, please, I don't care.
And so I learned in grad school from a colleague of mine who was a Coast Guard that I'd always been taught that, we were preventing drugs from entering the country because we cared about the welfare of our citizens, that we didn't want folks to use drugs. And he was like, no, there is a real interest in preventing drugs from entering to the country because we don't want oppositional governments to make money to be able to counter our sort of forces. And I, as much as I am not a naive person, I was gagging.
Yeah.
I was gagging. He was like, yeah, there's no real public health measure. If that were the case, then other forms of public health would look different. He was like, this is a lot of ways, like poppy flower, in which heroin comes from, is a big plant in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And so like there is not a real interest in protecting people or allowing people to use drugs safely. It's really economic and geopolitical. And I was gagged.
I really think that if you want to understand how to move away from these systems and be more intentional with the ways that you engage with the world is to not believe a single solitary thing the United States, you don't even need to go further than that. Don't believe anything the United States government is saying. If they're like, oh, we want to, we need to stop drug trafficking. I don't care if it came from Obama. Bullshit. It's bullshit. It makes complete sense that you're trying to make sure that other governments don't make enough money so that they could come up against the U.S. It makes complete, they don't care. They use drugs.
And that's why
you don't think that Trump is getting a little caviar bump? Please.
That's why Stephen Miller is on TV essentially saying this very same thing that y'all are saying, which is, why the hell will we allow an adversary of the U.S. to have hella oil that we don't have any access to and be able to sell it to our competitors and outperform us economically and then possibly use that to buy arms or whatever the fuck they think they're going to buy when we decide to attack them with abandon, just like we did now.
And just like they've been doing. The United States government or military has been attacking Venezuela for literally the past almost 2 years now.
I would give it a decade or more.
Yes.
I'd give it a decade or more.
Absolutely. Just literally killing fishermen without due process, saying that, they're drug traffickers. You don't care about. Speaking of Stephen Miller, he looks like he is on every type of drug imaginable.
Oh, for sure.
Like he looks. Are you okay?
Powdering. I'm sure he does. Because powder makes you do some of the stuff they do, but there ain't enough powder in the world.
It's not. I don't think
you know
it's
what
much
it is, the powder color of your skin. When your skin color powder. That's what causes this. That's what I'm saying. They don't want us to have that diaspora.
Shifting. You coughing. I'm shifting. You're trying to leave Rivalry to the last 10 minutes.
The last one. It's because Bryson mentioned a lot of the narratives are taking agency and autonomy away from the electoral process in Venezuela, but also the people in Venezuela's ability to actualize and deal with their own societal and governmental and political issues, which they already have. And they do so all the time. And they use protests and they use uprisings and they do so all the time because that's a part of the legacy of slavery in that country, right? You wouldn't have a Bolivian, they call this, all of us will see in the news now, the Bolivarian process, right? That's what they call the electoral process, named after Simón Bolívar. That's like the big national hero. Simón Bolívar literally got the idea to rise up against the Spanish during the 18th century from Haiti. Right? He literally went to Haiti and asked Haiti for money to help them because Haiti had already gotten their independence, right? The second nation in the entire Western Hemisphere to be independent. Haiti literally helped Venezuela become independent from the Spanish. There's a desire to make sure our connection across the diaspora is ended. So whenever a black person, especially a black American person, is like, hey, sounding the alarm, something is wrong. There's a lot of dependence on the the LNG, the gas and all the shit. There's a lot of shit going on. Something ain't right. Y'all need to be quiet. Y'all not from out here. Y'all not from Venezuela. If it wasn't for black people across the diaspora, it would be called Nueva España. It wouldn't be called Grand Colombia still. It would not be called no Venezuela. That's what Simón Bolívar wanted it all to be. That was his vision. He never got to actualize it, but Venezuela did get their independence from Spain. But the reason how they did it was through hella uprisings between indigenous and Afro-Venezuelans coming together and fighting the white wealthy elite class and some of the, the mixed class and free Creoles and free blacks that was fucking with the Spanish. And they had their own coons. So they have to be able to deal with their coons just like we do. Yes. This is what you're up against online. It's a lot of the coons being able to talk and speak out. They just like we have to deal with our coons, they have to deal with theirs, but also anything that concerns black people anywhere across the diaspora, we have to stick together. That is a major threat to the state. They do not want it.
Yes.
They don't want it. They think black people have a lot of power. They don't want it.
Can you transition this, please?
That has a lot to do with what the heated rivalry situation. Like, y'all see the connections that I'm making? Like,
I see the connection very clearly.
There's a desire.
Who gets to be, you asked this question too. It's like, who gets to be sexual? Who gets to experience a relationship without doom and gloom in media, in Hollywood, right? But also in reality. But who in our who gets to be our part of our fantasies?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's directly connected to which countries do you feel bold enough to invade? They didn't invade Russia. They haven't bombed Russia. Why not? They didn't bomb Israel. But you're sending bombs to Israel to constantly invade Palestine. Why? Because of what you believe people that look like Palestinians deserve. And similarly, what you believe people that look like Venezuelans deserve. Which is why Erica, when I saw the first 4 episodes of Heated Rivalry, was like, I don't really understand the appeal of this. And I'm somebody that likes romance. I like romance novels. Shout out to Kennedy Ryan. I'm a massive stan. What Kennedy Ryan does that I love is that it will be 10 chapters, literally 10 chapters in, and those characters have not fucked. It is all yearning and imagining and wanting each other and moving back and maybe going and a little bit here and a little bit there. And when you get to that point, it's like, oh, hell yes. But with Heated Rivalry, I was like, I don't even know who y'all are. And I'm confused. Like, I felt like I thought I missed an episode, the first episode. I was like, maybe I moved too fast. Maybe there was 3 episodes before this.
So I think that's a really interesting point. So I want to preface this by saying I went into Heated Rivalry wanting to hate it, like absolutely hate it. And I'm gonna give you a reason why. So I wrote myself into the future by watching gay and lesbian television when I was younger. And I don't mean just Queer as Folk and L-Word, which were great. And even though they were white as shit, they dealt with drug issues. They dealt with HIV in a really nuanced way. They dealt with gender. They dealt with shifting sexuality. And it was full. The most compelling storylines on Queer as Folk were the most femme people. And I thought that was dynamic. I thought, and so I saw myself, but I also watched films like Longtime Companion, which does deal with AIDS, but it dealt with AIDS in a really interesting way. But I'm a Cheerleader, Watermelon Woman. My Beautiful Laundrette. I have to shout that movie out because of the way they deal with race and class and intimacy.
But so I'm a Cheerleader. Is such a good.
I come into this wanting to hate it, and at the end, I did not. But at the beginning, I was skeptical. And part of that, we talked about this, I think the impulse for these men to be sexual so clearly is because I don't think that there was a lot of time for them to get to know themselves in that intimate way. I think that the ability to be romantic and intimate is to know yourself. It's to be able to fully stand in a desire that is sort of thought about outside of this sort of like I'm attracted to. And for me, the first, I actually performed oral sex on a boy before I kissed a boy.
Okay, that's real.
Before we even kissed, I performed oral sex.
That's real.
And we had known each other for 10 years. We were same age. We were best friends. And it really wasn't romantic. It was, I mean, there was all sorts of mistakes that I made. I used Suave lotion as lube. Like, I mean, we could just talk about all the things
Suave has seen a lot. And Jergens.
Listen.
Jergens bottles and them
that cherry almond Jergens.
I meant something, but it was on a nightstand. Like, that is actually horrible. Like,
and so, I mean, part of the reason I became a sexual health educator is because of how failed I was. But my first sexual experience happened before my first kiss. I had lots of sex without a first partner. And so I related in that sense. I also really liked that there wasn't a lot of shame. So they didn't ever really feel shame around being gay. They just knew that like it was going to disrupt their bag or that other folks were going to have an issue, but they kind of were like, I am right. Like I like what I like, right? Like, or I'm discovering what I like, or I like this person. But I did get this like internal narrative. And I have to say, particularly with Black LGBTQ depictions, there is often this tacit shame. And I think it's important to address. I think you should name it. But I'm always struggling because shame and proving your worth to somebody is such a central part to the narrative. So that felt refreshing. And although I think we differ on this, there were parts of it where there was consent modeled in a very healthy, practically speaking, safe way. Like asking, like, is this all right? Or can we do this? Or like, does this feel good?
Yeah.
I, as a cis queer man, have just never really seen that modeled, right?
Yeah.
And the work that we did in our sort of draconian nonprofits around safer sex and sexual health and empowerment. The shit that we had to help young people unlearn, the shit that we probably unlearned from each other.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ferran Ford and to Erica Cardwell and to Wendy Ledesma, folks who really helped me unlearn, Lillian Rivera, unlearn some shit. I think we have seen what we've had to unlearn, and that to witness a film that was, or a show that was modeling like pleasure and consent in some ways, and consent, like just like literally being like, is this okay? Or how does this feel, was powerful. Now, every other critique stands.
Yes.
I mean, what we are chasing as a society is benevolent patriarchy. We want the benevolent patriarch. I want him to be all these fucked up things, but just not to me. I want the athlete that is putting his body on the line to get CTE in the fucking NFL. I want him not to have a real politic around how that whole organization looks.
Or nothing at all.
Nothing at all, right? I want him to make all this money. I want us to live in an area that is so white, and he is the exception. I want all the money. I want all these different things, and I don't want any of that to impact our interpersonal relationship. We are in love with benevolent patriarchy, and it's delusion. And this is no exception. So much of why there are so many cis white femmes, women, whether they're hetero or bi or queer, is because there is a desire for this type of patriarchy, a patriarchy that they are very intimately used to and tied to finally be good to something that is familiar to them. For Black folks, we know what white patriarchy looks like. It looks like death. So I do think that folks are having a really hard time holding that there are elements of the show that are really good, but it's situated in the very same dynamics that we've seen over and over. One of the interviewers for some publication, it doesn't fucking matter because they all fucking suck. But was like, how did you all get your asses to look like that? How the fuck are you asking that question in a serious interview about this multi-episode series?
Like, you see all that you just explained that you
is so much more
from it
than what most of these, even on the Golden Globes last night, the two actors were like, maybe some of y'all haven't seen it, but your moms and your sisters have seen it. Like, they are playing this up too. Like, and you would in Hollywood. I wouldn't expect. That's why
playing up
when people were playing up the sexual element. When people were arguing with me, I'm like, did Hollywood change overnight and I would sleep or something? Like, we're not going to get revolution necessarily out of Hollywood. Even Sinners, I have my critiques of, and I fucking love Sinners, right? You still got a white music supervisor, a part of Sinners. Like, at the end of the day,
that's winning awards and y'all are not.
Right. You're gonna still play the game of Hollywood. So that's why I was very confused when people were so triggered by what I said, which is just another opinion in the sea of opinions about the show.
Right. There was one particular comment. Now, I stay out of the comments because I like to threaten people. And so I'm not trying to get kicked off.
That Virgo.
Kicked off of Instagram. But there was one person that was like, this is an incredibly bad take.
Yes. Most of them were like that.
I followed you for years. And like, this is dismissive of like what a queer femme would like watching two men engage in sex. Erica's not saying anything about that.
I'm really not.
What type of men are you interested in watching?
Yes.
Who gets cast? I mean, let's be clear. Will Smith has said he was advised by Denzel Washington to not kiss his co-star in, I forget what film it was, because it would ruin his fucking career.
I did not know that.
He was advised by Denzel Washington.
Wow.
The fucking character is gay. They walk in on them fucking.
Yeah.
They walk in on them fucking, but you couldn't kiss.
Wow.
All of this matters.
Same for The Color Purple with Whoopi Goldberg.
All of this matters. Like, again, I liked the series. There were things about it that I really enjoyed. I was not lost on that these are athletes. They are cis. They are able-bodied, right? Like, there is a particular sympathy that I have been socialized to see, right? Like, the whole arc is this person's being so brave, right? One of the couples, he brings out the partner and kisses him on the ice. Like, he's being so brave because he's taking this risk. Well, what is he risking? And why is he risking it? Why aren't other parts of his life risky? Because he is closest to the centers of power.
Yes.
All you have been asking is to say, if you loved Heated Rivalry, why haven't you watched Pariah? Why isn't this story that is multi-layered, that focuses on a masculine-centered, dark-skinned Black femme navigating not only her sexual orientation, gender presentation, but a family dynamic that mirrors so many of our family dynamics, where there's a fucked up ass relationship between two people who ain't never been to fucking therapy, who are focused on capital and expectations. Dee Rees in that film did more, I think, to humanize what it means to be queer in this world than I have probably ever seen on film.
It's literally one of the greatest films ever.
And I'll be very clear, Meryl Streep's white ass was out here bigging up Dee Rees in Adapuro at an award show in her one of her acceptances. So I know that it was quality because you have this pinnacle of whatever. But why haven't y'all watched that? And I think there's a reason why. It's really hard. And last thing I'll say, because again, queer and gay and lesbian and trans film and television help me see myself in the future. I love Moonlight. I love
Get
Moonlight.
into it.
I saw it alone on the Upper West Side. And I was going in and I was just, it was overwhelming. It didn't really relate to me. Suburban Black kid, you know, like I didn't have a lot of the like I knew Adiot sold drugs, like I did. One day we went by in the DI, like he locked up for 14 years, he came back a Muslim. You know what I mean? Like I seen it, but I wasn't in it. You know, it wasn't my ministry. But there's a scene where the young version of the main character, Chiron, where he's being bullied. And he picks up a chair and he knocks the shit out of his bully. I was like, I know that's fucking right. And they transition to him being an adult. So the older version of him, I forget, what's his name? The actor. I can't remember his name.
He's so fine.
Fine as frog hair. And something, Trevante Rhodes or something like that. And in this film, he's sleeping and they pan up his body. Now, Trevante Rhodes is built like an athlete. He has the aesthetic of athlete, and he is conventionally seen as beautiful in our community. And in the theater, I heard people go, ooh, literally gawk. But the difference in the appearance between the younger version and Trevante is striking.
It's striking.
And I remember being like, oh, there's an element here. Now he's dark skinned, he's Black, but there's an element here of sexualization.
Big time.
That is not about the story between these two boys who are finding a tender place for Black masculinity that can't be held anywhere else. But that there's a huge part of this is how he looks. And then immediately following that nigga got a Calvin Klein underwear deal. And I am fat. Now, my weight ain't gone up like Oprah in the 90s. You know, some days I'm fat, some days I'm not. Listen, you, depending when you catch me. And I remember thinking I would never be cast in this film. But I would be cast in Pariah. There were some HMI, former at the time, HMI young people in that film. I could see myself in this film. But in this film, in which I think a lot of people would expect me, I don't think that I present good enough to be in this. And so all of this matters on who is allowed to be seen, desired, empathized with. And heated rivalry is no different.
You are so fucking smart. It is like nuts and gorgeous. And the fact that you think that you wouldn't be in Moonlight is crazy. Like, but I'm really moved by what you said. And I feel like it kind of wants to bring me to tears. I think mostly because I'm tired, but also because I think about, you made me give my younger queer self a lot of humanity, and that there was so much put on sex. Like, I write about this in my book, where I was like, I just thought my queerness was wrapped up in fucking. So when my first girlfriend wasn't trying to fuck, I was like, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Am I queer enough? So I think maybe I was a bit, I mean, I have all my critiques of heated rivalry that I know are clear, but also I feel like a little triggered in seeing that it was like, okay, you're standing in front of me in the shower, which I don't believe was consensual. And then you're like, well, if you're really about this, come meet me at my hotel room or whatever it was. And then from there, we're fucking. I think there was maybe a little bit of a trigger there. And that I've tried to have a bit more about my queerness beyond just sex, because we are in the world sexualized. Like, people come to queer parties, gay bars, lesbian bars, and the first thing that they want to talk about, cishet people, is fucking. So I think with having so many eyes and the gaze of cishets, and hearing that a lot of cishet white women, which my post was directed to, why you like this is because it's them fucking. If they weren't fucking at all, would you actually watch it? Is my question. Would you actually watch a show where there wasn't any fucking with two gay cis men?
And maybe they would, but to both of y'all,
I highly doubt it.
If it was two, let's say if it was two, I'll even put it white. I used to say if it was two white fat cubs. No, I'm telling y'all right now, ain't nobody showing up to watch that but us. Right? Nobody's just not going to get the same fanfare that these people are getting. And I think that's the thing that, now I'm of the contingent of people who ain't seen it, and I'm not gonna watch it because I don't watch stuff like that.
I tried, y'all. They told me on the post. They told me on the post that if I haven't seen all the episodes, then I shouldn't talk.
I ain't got time.
So that's why we have Bryson here. Because I only saw up to 4, and I didn't read the book. Bryson saw the whole thing and read the book.
I do, and I mean, I love what you said, Bryson, too, about like not seeing yourself there. Yes. But I'm also like, that's the thing, is that you would be in Moonlight. Right? Like it, but would you be in heated rivalry? That's the point.
Yes.
So I think I would not be in Moonlight because, and again, this is dovetailing to a different episode, but we love to tell stories about people closest to the centers of power.
Yeah.
So when you think about the narratives that we see around gay, lesbian, trans people, it could be Euphoria. It could be Sort of. It could be this, Heated Rivalry. It could be, what's the one with, I forget what it's called, but they're...
Noah's Ark?
No, not Noah's Ark. There are two, the guy from Wicked.
Guy from Wicked. I don't think I know it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Matt Boner.
Yeah.
He is, they both work for the government, and it's during the sort of McCarthy era of outing gay people. And the stories center on people who are closeted. The ability to pass, right? So like in Euphoria, it's the father who's not out, who's fucking the trans girl, right? And the whole system gets uprooted when the son finds out the father is fucking this girl. And sort of she or they are sort of in this relationship with this cis man who's like married. Like there's a soldier's girl, right? Like the soldier is closeted and he's dating this trans girl. He's not out. Like we do not tell stories about people who are like, well, yeah, I'm out and here's my experience. Like, or, you know, I've been trying to work in this and it doesn't work out. Like we're telling stories of people who are closeted and we're trying to build sympathy for them, but they're the closest to centers of power.
Well, and it's also voyeuristic in nature. The people at the centers of power on the outside looking in or looking up from high and at our life and our experiences. So I think it's a fetishizing element, but then I also think that Black fantasy or black freedom or black sexuality is very threatening. In many different iterations, and I think Moonlight is more of the end of the non-threatening, which is why it was so highly acclaimed. It was Barry Jenkins did an excellent job filmically, the storytelling, the cinematography. It's all there. However, like you're mentioning, there is a level of safety. It is because the niggas look good and they all buff and they all tall and they're all masculine. So again, if these were two femme people being in a relationship, even with Heated Rivalry, even in Moonlight. People are not going to buy, oh, you feminine, so you couldn't be in a closet. Yeah. You couldn't have complicated feelings about your sexuality. Nobody's going to buy that, and nobody necessarily wants to see that because of benevolent patriarchy point that you made. But also, I think Heated Rivalry at a time of great imperial misadventure in the world, white misadventure, is very dangerous, only in the sense that it represents a non-threatening fantasy for a lot of people. It poses no threat to the state. It is a very, what people might think is an innocuous rendering of queer love or queer yearning, but I'm like...
But does everything is the question.
Yes, and...
But babe, you watch the House of Dragons. Does that pose a...
Awful. They got all type of... They normalize all type of pedophilia. But that don't pose
no push up to the state, though.
No, it's bad. Yeah, it doesn't make most white media it's not, but that's the thing. I'm feeling like, what role is media having, right? In the ways that we sort of ingratiate ourselves to power? What role is it having in pacifying us further? Because again, with Marlon Riggs, with Tongues Untied, that is black queer media that centers on the experiences of black gay men with HIV or some without, or whose partners had HIV. The literal government, when that was released in the 90s during George Bush's presidency, they ran ads and commercials to say, look at literally using black gay men as a common enemy and a literal pariah during the election cycle in the early 90s. Heated Rivalry is being acclaimed and upheld immediately. Whereas Marlon Riggs literally was like, that did so much damage to the community, literally using me and using the work that I did in my community to say, look at how deviant these black people are. Like, this is the world. If you vote for this person, this is where we'll be headed. You know what I'm saying? As a society. So Marlon Riggs is making a work that is about black gay men's experience that is threatening to the state. Literally, the state is looking at, I'm like, how did y'all even find this? Like, why are y'all watching this? How did you even get access to this? But you got access to it enough to make the point that there's something inherently threatening about black sexuality that is political in nature. Heated Rivalry is saying the exact opposite. And all the people that involved with it, with the creation of Heated Rivalry, are also saying, like, this is about sex and yearning and romance. And that's another thing on the yearning piece. I understand different people's experience, but it's like, y'all yearning for some dick. Dick is something that everybody on this couch didn't have, and it's not something you gotta yearn hard for. It's easy to get. So y'all are yearning for that. That's where they're losing. And I know y'all yearning for intimacy, connection, but from what I'm hearing, there's some intimacy and connection, but then there's also, in order to anchor the telling of the intimacy and connection, you're using sex and bodies as a vehicle to do that. Nothing wrong with it. However, again, it's just weird to me that people are like, oh, you know, if you're not a black gay man, or you're not a gay man, rather, you know, you shouldn't talk about this. But literally, the creator of the motherfucking shit is not a gay man.
Well, I think that's part of the.
Can you talk more about that? Because you read the book. So what is this subculture?
I think it's the benevolent patriarchy piece too. Of like, that's what people are saying. It's like, I never see men in this light being so sweet to each other. So I want to be able to see that because I don't experience that. Which completely, erodes the humanity of gay cis men. Because if you think that patriarchy don't exist in the gay community, it's crazy.
It invisibilizes, that's invisibilizing all the dynamic ways that gay men are in relationship to each other, but it's also very cis normative in a lot of ways because people, again, one of the most saddest comments was like, somebody was like, I'm a trans, Boricua, and I'm in a relationship with a man, and like, this was like my fantasy and whoop whoop. And I'm like, where is my fantasy has you up in it? Like, we're going to literally write ourselves out of our own fantasies. It's like, where is the trans Boricua sex scene, love story? Like, we want to see that. Yeah. This, to your point, Bryson, is the same old same. Now, it does the bare minimum, like showing, because like we are at a point in society where
consent does need to be shown.
Yeah, but it's like,
but I would even argue. So my question is like, is there a right way to get to that level of intimacy? And what I hear you saying is that this feels like a familiar trope, like that what actually is used to grab the audience's attention are all of the same familiar tools, and that someone's then trying to retrofit this like intimacy, this sort of like connection sort of afterward, right? Like that if this were truly about storytelling around the complexities of self and love in the context of white cis heteropatriarchy, you would not necessarily need those other trappings that we've seen over and over again. And I totally agree. And I think that's where people are getting lost. They're not understanding that that's why you haven't seen Pariah. That's why you don't like Pariah. That's why it doesn't excite you or titillate you. It doesn't titillate you because it doesn't sweep awards, but it doesn't even it may kick up some shit for you. It may make you feel complicit in some way. I mean, that film talks about houselessness. That film talks about I mean, there's a scene where Adapiro is trying on a different strap.
Yeah, I remember.
And her sister, and her sister walks in, and it's like, oh, and then there's this mask love that's unrequited because, like, it is such a layered and nuanced film, and I think for some people it actually doesn't allow for escape.
And I get it more sex in Pariah. Okay, I get it. I would appreciate it more of that.
But the escape piece is very, very good. It doesn't. People want to escape. That's why they get so mad at me because I'm interrupting their fantasy, and that's what it felt like. Because I was actually shocked at the pushback, to be honest. Because I'm like, y'all know that I critique most of these shows that are popular for a reason. Because why is it popular, right? We have to sit with that. Why, who is this actually for? But that's what it was. It was like, why are you saying this? I can't believe you're saying this. I was like, all of these bad things are happening in the world. Let me have this.
Well, it's like,
I'm not taking it away from you.
But it's also the descendants of the Puritans getting control and authority to now call shit puritanical. To now call some voyeuristic experiment and peering into the lives of masculine, closeted gay men. They're calling any critique of that puritanical because, again, like you just said, you're not titillated by something like Pariah or Tongues Untied or even Noah's Ark, even though a lot of them niggas is buff and big and all of that. Yep. But the main character is femme. So they're not going to, if you have a femme protagonist, a black femme, very out gay person, you know, there was a closeted instance inside of Noah's Ark. Patrik Ian-Polk deserves a great amount of credit for Heated Rivalry's popularity today, but won't get it, right? Won't get it because they're making stories by black people about black people, and there's something that's not titillating. Like you said, there's something that complicates things for people when black people are involved, particularly black American people. There's something where it's like, it's fucking up my fantasy of world domination and there's with this patriarch.
Especially if the characters do not have a white partner. One of the biggest things that I would be remiss if I didn't say it on this podcast is in 2026, I would like to see more black, queer, and trans people take up more space, but only when they reserve the most intimate parts of themselves for black people and blackness. I think that there is a huge barrier when you are black and unapologetically so and queer, and that you reserve the most intimate parts of your life for blackness. I think that is a hugely threatening thing to institutions of power. And I'm sure you have noticed the difference. It's something I see all the time.
We haven't been invited to Black Love. We haven't been invited to do these things. They don't, but they'll be quick to have a Black person with a white person. It's no shade in trying to convince themselves that this is Black love.
We didn't already had an episode on.
But I'm just saying. It's inside of that though. We have to wrap it.
We have to wrap. But Bryson, to close, my question to you is: what are you looking most forward to for year 2026? But also, what would you say to somebody that feels like, okay, I'm in Ohio or I'm somewhere in the Midwest. I'm not in the metropoles. I don't have access. I'm not from the Bay Area. I grew up gay, so I ain't got to watch all this stuff. I don't have access to studs or to other niggas. I don't have access to all of that. And heated rivalry seems to be the only thing that I can have to affirm me. What do you say to those young people out there who are watching media like this that does have some geopolitical consequences and implications, but they feel like this is all they have? So what you most looking forward to and this?
What I'm most looking forward to in 2026 is being more honest. I think I've spent a lot of time being theoretical and making a lot of academic and
being
more,
a genius.
well, just like I just want to be more clear and resolute about what's going on. And that is white supremacy, and that must come to an end.
Yeah.
Seems like you got that down.
No, but like no regression model, no like correlation, like it's more like
move away from academia,
more away from academia, and more like this is the fucking problem.
Coal mine.
Exactly.
My great grandfather.
Yes,
the memory that you had.
Staying rooted.
Yeah.
And for the young folks, wherever they are, if they're not in a place like New York City, take what you need from heated rivalry, but always question something. If you don't see yourself in it, ask yourself why, and then say, well, who did have me in mind? And let that be your guide on the internet. If you have access to the internet or you have access to archives, let this pique your curiosity, but don't let it end here.
Yes.
And that's with anything. I walked by a school in Harlem, and it's named after, a dear fraternity brother of mine, and it's beautiful. But the folks that got up, it's called Thurgood Marshall Academy. So shout out to TMA. Yeah. But it's Sonia Sotomayor, it's Kamala Harris, it's Barack Obama's Thurgood Marshall. There are other niggas and nigga adjacent folks who have done some liberation work in your community, not even necessarily worldwide famous. So I want young people to be curious about everything. Heated rivalry to the name of your school, to your own family history.
Yes.
Who isn't named in the archive? It's often a queer or trans person.
Yes.
And they're in your community.
And they're in your family.
And they're in your family. And they might not see themselves in heated rivalry. They might not represent what is signified there. But what is heated rivalry signifying in these two characters? Again, think about World War II. Think about Pearl Harbor. Why is the white the top? Again.
And there was a Black person in heated rivalry that people online said made them uncomfortable.
Yes.
Which proves my point.
We love y'all. Thank you so much, Bryson. This is our friend.
This is amazing. Where can they find your work, support your work,
where
and
can they find it?
all that jazz?
I'm on Instagram, Bryson Rose 1987. I'm private, so you have to request me. I may not accept you. We'll see. So we'll see. But
yes, whatever.
Thank you so much.
We'll have all of that in the description. Of this podcast. We love y'all.
See y'all soon.
See y'all soon. 2022.
Bye.
Thank you.
2022.
Did I say 2022?
Yes.
2026. It don't matter. 2022 project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.